The courthouse smelled like failure and cheap disinfectant. I sat in the back row watching my son-in-law adjust his $1,000 tie while his lawyer whispered something that made him smirk. That smirk. I wanted to rip it off his face with my bare hands. 2 weeks earlier, I'd been sleeping in my Chevy Silverado, parked behind a shuttered grocery store. The seats don't recline far enough for a man my age. Every morning I woke up with my back screaming and my neck twisted like a pretzel. I'd brush my teeth with bottled water in the store's parking lot, trying not to make eye contact with anyone who might recognize Paul Blake, the plumber who'd lived in this town for 30 years. Emily had been gone for 3 weeks when Jason told me to pack my bags. My daughter, my only child. Gone at 30, and her husband couldn't wait to kick me out of the house where I'd been staying since the funeral. "Don't be dramatic, Paul," he'd said, standing in the doorway of the guest room like some kind of landlord. "Pack your bags and learn to survive." I remember staring at him, thinking about all the times Emily had defended him, all the family dinners where I'd bitten my tongue when he talked about his business decisions, his investments, his success. She'd loved him, for reasons I'd never understood, and now she was gone, and he was throwing me out like garbage. The funeral had been 4 days earlier. I stood at her grave, trying to make sense of a world where your 30-year-old daughter dies in her sleep. The doctors said it was an undiagnosed heart condition, a silent threat. She'd gone to bed one night and never woke up. Jason had cried at the funeral, real tears, or so I'd thought. He'd held my hand during the service and told me we'd get through this together. 4 days later, he wanted me gone. So I left. I packed my toolbox, my clothes, and drove away from the house my daughter had bought. That's what I learned later, sitting in my truck, going through old papers I'd stuffed in a box. Emily had bought that house. Her name was on the deed. Jason had moved into her house, her life, and now he was acting like he owned everything. I spent the first week in my truck eating gas station sandwiches and trying not to think about Emily, the way she used to call me every Sunday morning, the way she'd laugh at my terrible jokes, the way she'd insisted on paying for dinner every time we went out, even though it made me feel like a failure. "Dad, you worked your whole life," she'd say. "Let me take care of you for once." I'd installed toilets and fixed leaky pipes for 35 years. I'd put Emily through college that way. Community college first. Then she'd transferred to a state school. She'd studied business and accounting, and she'd been good at it. Really good. Within 5 years of graduating, she'd built something. I didn't understand all of it, but I knew she was successful. Then she'd married Jason. He was a sales guy at some tech company, smooth-talking and confident. Emily had introduced us at a barbecue, and I'd tried to like him. I really had. But there was something off about the way he smiled. Too practiced, too perfect. They'd been married 6 years when she died. The call from Andy came on my 10th day in the truck. I was parked at a rest stop, eating crackers and thinking about whether I could afford a motel room, when my phone rang. "Paul, it's Andy. I need to see you." Andy Fletcher had been my friend since high school. We'd played baseball together, dated girls from the same group, gotten drunk at the same parties. He'd gone to law school while I'd learned plumbing from my old man. But we'd stayed friends. Good friends. "I'm not in a great place right now," I said. "I know," Helen told me. "That's why I need to see you. It's about Emily." Something in his voice made me sit up straight. "What about her?" "Not over the phone. Can you meet me at my office? This afternoon?" I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. I hadn't shaved in a week. My eyes were tired, and I smelled like sweat and desperation. "Give me an hour," I said. Andy's office was downtown, in one of those old buildings that had been renovated with exposed brick and modern furniture. His secretary barely looked at me when I walked in. I probably looked homeless. I felt homeless. Andy came out of his office immediately, his face serious. "Paul, come in." He closed the door behind us and gestured to a chair. I sat down, suddenly nervous. Andy looked nervous too, which wasn't like him. "I've been going through Emily's estate," he said. "She had me do her will about 2 years ago. Did you know that?" I shook my head. "She never mentioned it." "She wouldn't have. Emily was private about business matters." He pulled out a folder from his desk. "Paul, did you know what Emily actually owned?" "The house, I guess. She did well for herself." "She did more than well." Andy opened the folder and pulled out several documents. Emily owned 62% of Blake Industries. I stared at him. "What?" "Blake Industries, the company Jason claims to run. Emily owned the majority stake. She founded it 7 years ago before she married Jason. He came on as a partner later, but she always maintained control." The room felt like it was tilting. Jason always talked about it like it was his company. Because Emily let him. She ran everything behind the scenes while Jason played CEO. The major clients, the contracts, the investments, all Emily. Jason was basically a figurehead. I couldn't process it. "Why would she do that?" Andy shrugged. "You'd have to ask her, but I think she liked staying out of the spotlight. She let Jason have the glory while she built an empire." "An empire?" I repeated stupidly. "The company is worth approximately $4.2 million. Emily's stake is worth about $2.6 million. And according to her will, you inherit everything." The words didn't make sense. I heard them, but they felt like they were coming from underwater. "Me?" "You, everything. The house, the business shares, her investment accounts, everything. Jason gets nothing except his own 38% stake in the company." "He doesn't know," I said. "No. I haven't filed the will yet. I wanted to talk to you first." Andy leaned forward. "Paul, Jason has been acting like he owns the whole company. He's been making decisions, moving money around, even talking to potential buyers. If he sells the company before we file this will, it's going to be a nightmare to untangle." Something cold and hard settled in my chest. He threw me out, told me to learn to survive. I know. He cried at her funeral, held my hand. Then 4 days later, he kicked me out like I was nothing. "I know," Andy said again, quieter this time. I looked at the documents on his desk. My daughter's life, reduced to paperwork. "What do I need to do?" "Let me file the will. Let me start the process. It's going to take time. Probate usually does. But eventually you'll have control of Emily's shares. You'll be the majority owner of Blake Industries." "And Jason?" "He'll still have his stake. We can't take that away from him, but he won't control the company anymore. You will." I thought about sleeping in my truck, about Jason's smirk, about Emily, who'd built something beautiful and hidden it from everyone. "File it," I said. Andy nodded. "There's something else. I've been looking at the company's recent financial statements. Jason's been moving money around in ways that don't quite add up. Large transfers to offshore accounts, some questionable expenses. I think you should hire a forensic accountant." "You think he's stealing?" "I think he's doing something, and I think Emily might have known about it." The apartment I rented was a dump, but it was better than my truck. 1 bedroom, a kitchen the size of a closet, and a bathroom with tiles that had probably been installed when Nixon was president. But it had a roof and a bed, and I could afford it with what was left in my checking account. Helen came by the second day with groceries and a lecture. "You should have called me," she said, unpacking milk and bread into my empty fridge. "You shouldn't have been living in your truck, Paul. I have a spare room. I didn't want to be a burden. You're my brother. You're not a burden." She turned to look at me, and her eyes were red. We both lost her. I hugged my sister, and we stood in that terrible kitchen crying for the daughter and niece who'd been taken too soon. After Helen left, I sat at my card table with the documents Andy had given me. Emily's will, financial statements from Blake Industries, a list of assets that made my head spin. My daughter had been rich, actually rich. And she'd lived modestly, driving a nice but not extravagant car, wearing normal clothes, eating at regular restaurants. She'd hidden her success like it was something to be ashamed of. Or maybe she'd hidden it because she knew Jason would try to take it. I spent the next week diving into Blake Industries. Andy connected me with a forensic accountant named Patricia Wu. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, and no nonsense. "Your son-in-law is sloppy," she said at our first meeting. "I've found at least $300,000 in questionable transfers over the last 6 months. Questionable how? Payments to shell companies that don't seem to provide any actual services. Expenses that don't match up with any projects. It's not proof of embezzlement yet, but it smells wrong. Can you prove it?" "Give me time. I'll need access to more records." Andy worked on getting those records through legal channels while I started learning everything I could about Emily's company. It manufactured specialized components for medical devices. Boring stuff, but apparently very profitable. Emily had built relationships with hospitals and research facilities across the country. She'd been the one who landed the big contracts, who made the deals happen. Jason had just shown up for photo ops and signed where she told him to. The more I discovered, the angrier I became. My daughter had been brilliant, and Jason had taken credit for her work while she was alive. Now that she was gone, he was trying to take everything. I started going to the gym, an old Planet Fitness near my apartment. I hadn't exercised in years, but suddenly I needed to hit something. The heavy bag became my best friend. Every punch was for Emily. Every drop of sweat was for the future Jason had stolen from her. Helen worried. "You're obsessing," she said over coffee at her house. "He threw me out. He's stealing from Emily's company. From my company now." "It's not about the money, Paul. No, it's about what's right." She sighed. "Just don't do anything stupid." But I was already planning something stupid. Or maybe it was smart. The line was getting blurry. Patricia called me on a Thursday morning. I found her. Found who? Jason's girlfriend. Her name is Maria Lynch. She's 28, works as a consultant for Blake Industries. Guess how much she's been paid in the last 6 months? How much? $150,000 for consulting services that nobody can actually define. I've talked to other employees. Nobody knows what she does. She just shows up sometimes, talks to Jason, and leaves. She's the shell company. Bingo. Well, one of them. She runs 3 different LLCs that have all been paid by Blake Industries for vague services. I'm betting if we dig deeper, we'll find that Jason is funneling company money to her. Why would he do that? Because she's his girlfriend, Paul. And I'm guessing she was his girlfriend before Emily died. The rage that hit me was physical. I had to sit down, breathing hard. "You okay?" Patricia asked. "Find proof. Find all of it." "I will." Andy filed Emily's will 2 weeks after our first meeting. The legal notice went out to all interested parties. Jason would get it soon. I waited for the call, but it didn't come. Instead, I saw him at a restaurant. It was a Friday night. I'd forced myself to go out, to eat something other than frozen dinners. The place was nice, but not fancy, the kind of restaurant where Emily and I used to meet for lunch. I was waiting for my table when I saw them. Jason and a woman I didn't recognize. Young, pretty, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my rent. They were at a corner booth, laughing. He had his hand on her leg under the table. I could see it from where I stood. The hostess was talking to me, asking if I was ready to be seated. I didn't hear her. All I could see was Jason, alive and happy, 3 weeks after my daughter had died. I walked toward their table. The rational part of my brain was screaming to stop, but the rest of me didn't care. Jason saw me when I was about 10 feet away. His smile froze. "Paul." "Jason." The woman looked between us, confused. Jason's hand came off her leg. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Eating dinner. What are you doing?" This is Maria. Maria Lynch. She's a colleague." "A colleague," I repeated. Maria had the decency to look uncomfortable. "Is that what we're calling it?" "Paul, Don't make a scene. Don't make a scene? My voice was rising. People were starting to look. My daughter has been gone for 3 weeks, and you're here with your girlfriend? She's not my... Yes, I am, Maria said suddenly. She looked at me defiantly. We've been together for 8 months. Emily knew. That stopped me. What? Emily knew, Maria repeated. She and Jason had an arrangement. They hadn't been happy for years. It was a lie. It had to be a lie. Emily would have told me. She would have... But I didn't know. I didn't know anything about my daughter's marriage, her business, her life. She'd hidden everything from me, and now these two were sitting here rewriting her story. You're lying, I said. Jason stood up. Paul, you need to leave. You threw me out. You told me to learn to survive. Because you were being dramatic. Losing Emily was hard on everyone. She was my daughter. She was my wife. Jason's voice was cold now. And I don't owe you anything. Neither did she. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the weeks in my truck. Maybe it was the smug look on his face. Maybe it was Maria sitting there in her expensive dress, spending my daughter's money. I punched him. My fist connected with his jaw, and Jason went backward, slamming into the table. Glasses shattered. Maria screamed. The entire restaurant went silent. Then everyone was moving. Someone grabbed my arms. A waiter was shouting. Jason was on the floor, his mouth split, staring up at me with pure hatred. You're done, old man, he said. You're done. Security dragged me out. They threatened to call the cops, but Jason didn't press charges. Probably because he didn't want the attention. I walked back to my apartment, my knuckles throbbing, my heart pounding. I'd screwed up. I'd let my anger control me, and I'd screwed up. But God, it had felt good. Andy was furious. What were you thinking? I wasn't. Jason could use this against you. He could claim you're unstable, try to contest the will. Let him try. I flexed my hand. The knuckles were swollen. I'm not backing down. We were in Andy's office on Monday morning. He'd called me in after hearing about the restaurant incident through the lawyer grapevine. Small-town problems. Paul, I'm your friend. I'm on your side. But you need to keep it together. We're in the middle of a legal process. Don't give Jason ammunition. He was with her, with Maria, 3 weeks after Emily died. I know, it's disgusting, but it's not illegal. Patricia thinks Maria's involved in the embezzlement. Andy nodded. She sent me her preliminary report. It's damning, but we need more before we can do anything with it. How much more? Bank records, emails, something that directly connects Jason to the shell companies. Right now, it's circumstantial. I leaned back in my chair. How long? Patricia thinks another month, maybe 2. 2 months. 2 months of Jason running Emily's company into the ground. 2 months of him and Maria spending money that wasn't theirs. There's something else, Andy said. Jason's trying to sell the company. My stomach dropped. What? He's been in talks with a private equity firm. They want to buy Blake Industries. If the sale goes through before probate is settled, it's going to complicate everything. Can he sell without my approval? Emily's shares are still technically in her estate. Jason can argue that as the CEO and a major shareholder, he has the right to pursue a sale. A judge might agree, especially if he can show that the sale is in the company's best interest. It's not in the company's best interest. It's in his interest. I know. But we need to block it, and we need grounds. That's where Patricia's investigation comes in. If we can prove Jason's been embezzling, we can freeze his authority. But we need proof. I stood up and walked to the window. Downtown was quiet, the morning crowd already at work. Emily used to work in a building 2 blocks from here. Sometimes we'd meet for lunch at the deli on the corner. She built that company, I said. From nothing. She built something real. I know. And he's going to destroy it. Not if we can help it. I turned back to Andy. What do I need to do? Stay calm. Let Patricia do her work. Let me handle the legal side, and for God's sake, don't punch him again. I managed a weak smile. No promises. Patricia called me 3 days later. I need access to Jason's computer. How am I supposed to get that? I don't know, but that's where the proof is. He's been careful with the company accounts, but I'd bet money he's kept records on his personal computer. Emails to Maria, transaction records, something. Breaking into his computer is illegal. I'm not asking you to break in. I'm just telling you where the evidence is. She hung up. I sat in my apartment staring at the wall. I couldn't break into Jason's computer. I wasn't a hacker, and I wasn't going to do anything that would land me in jail. But Patricia was right. The evidence was there, somewhere. The answer came from an unexpected place. Helen mentioned over dinner that she'd run into Emily's old assistant, a woman named Jennifer Davies. She asked about you, Helen said. Wanted to know if you were okay? I didn't know Emily had an assistant. For about 3 years. Jennifer said Emily was the best boss she ever had. I got Jennifer's number from Helen. She agreed to meet me for coffee. Jennifer was in her 30s, professional and composed. We met at a Starbucks near the Blake Industries office. I'm sorry about Emily, she said. She was an incredible person. Thank you. My sister said you worked for her? For 3 years. I left about 6 months ago. Different opportunities. She looked uncomfortable. Actually, that's not entirely true. Emily suggested I look for another job. Why? Jennifer hesitated. Things were getting tense at the office. Jason and Emily were fighting a lot. She didn't want me caught in the middle. Fighting about what? Money, control. Jason wanted more authority, wanted to make bigger decisions. Emily didn't trust him. She looked down at her coffee. She was right not to. What do you mean? I probably shouldn't say this, but Jason was stealing, moving money around, paying his girlfriend, covering his tracks. Emily knew. She was building a case against him when she died. My hands clenched around my cup. She knew about Maria. Everyone knew about Maria. Emily pretended she didn't care, but she did. She was going to divorce Jason, take control of the company and cut him loose. Do you have proof of any of this? I have emails. Emily CC'd me on a lot of correspondence. I kept copies when I left, just in case. Jennifer pulled out her phone. I can send them to you. Please. The emails arrived that afternoon. Hundreds of them. Emily documenting every suspicious transaction, every questionable decision Jason made. She'd been meticulous, building a case piece by piece. She'd known. She'd known what Jason was doing, and she'd been planning to stop him. And then she'd died. I forwarded everything to Patricia and Andy. Patricia called me within an hour. This is it. This is everything we need. Emily did the hard work for us. Can we move now? Yes. I'm drafting a report tonight. Andy can file a motion to freeze Jason's authority as CEO. With this evidence, the judge will have to act. How long? Days. Maybe a week. Finally, we were moving forward. The emergency hearing was scheduled for Tuesday morning. Andy filed a motion to remove Jason as CEO of Blake Industries pending investigation into financial improprieties. The evidence Patricia compiled, combined with Emily's emails, was damning. Jason fought back. His lawyer argued that this was a vindictive attack by a grieving father who couldn't accept his daughter's loss. They claimed the emails were misinterpreted and that the transfers were legitimate business expenses. The judge wasn't buying it. Mr. Blake, she said, looking at Jason over her glasses, these emails from the deceased owner of the company paint a very troubling picture. Until we can sort this out, I'm freezing your authority to make major business decisions. Mr. Paul Blake, as the executor of Emily Blake's estate, will assume temporary oversight of the company. Jason's face went white. Your Honor, this is necessary, the judge interrupted. I'm also ordering a full forensic audit of Blake Industries. We'll reconvene in 30 days to review the findings. The gavel came down. Jason stared at me across the courtroom with pure hatred. Outside, Andy gripped my shoulder. You won. Not yet, but it's a start. I went to Blake Industries that afternoon. The office was in a business park on the edge of town, a modern building with glass walls and the company logo in brushed steel by the entrance. Emily's logo. She'd designed it herself. The receptionist looked nervous when I walked in. "Can I help you?" "I'm Paul Blake. I'm here to meet with the department heads. Mr. Jason said, Mr. Jason doesn't have authority anymore. Get everyone into the conference room, now." There were 8 employees total. Blake Industries was small, efficient. Emily had kept it that way deliberately. The department heads gathered in the conference room, looking confused and worried. "Most of you don't know me," I said. "I'm Paul Blake, Emily's father. As of this morning, I'm running this company." A man in his 50s raised his hand. "What about Jason?" "Jason is under investigation for embezzlement. Until that's resolved, I'm in charge." I looked around the room. I'm not a businessman. I'm a plumber, but Emily built something here, and I'm not going to let it fall apart, so I need your help. "What do you need?" a woman asked. I recognized her from the company website. Rita Patel, head of operations. "I need to understand what this company does, how it works, what Emily did to make it successful." For the next 3 hours, they walked me through everything: the clients, the contracts, the manufacturing process. It was overwhelming, but I took notes and asked questions. These people had worked with Emily. They'd respected her. They were willing to give me a chance. "Emily was brilliant," Rita said. "She understood the technical side and the business side. Jason just showed up." "Did you know about the embezzlement?" The room went quiet. Finally, a younger man spoke up. "We suspected, but Jason was the CEO. We didn't know who to tell. You can tell me now. If you see anything suspicious, anything that doesn't seem right, I want to know." They nodded. I could see relief on their faces. That night I went back to my apartment exhausted but energized. For the first time since Emily died, I felt like I was doing something right. Patricia's full report came 2 weeks later. It was devastating. Jason had stolen nearly $700,000 over 3 years. He'd set up multiple shell companies, all controlled by Maria, and funneled money through them. He'd covered his tracks by spreading the theft across dozens of small transactions, but once Patricia pieced it together, the pattern was clear. Maria wasn't just his girlfriend. She was his accomplice. "We need to file criminal charges," Andy said. "This is fraud, embezzlement, theft. Jason could go to prison." "Do it." The police arrested Jason at his house. Maria was arrested the same day. The local news covered it, and suddenly everyone in town knew that Jason, the successful CEO, was a thief. The sale to the private equity firm fell apart immediately. The company's reputation took a hit, but Rita and the team worked hard to reassure clients. Slowly, business stabilized. Probate finally closed 3 months after Emily's passing. Her shares were officially transferred to me. I was now the majority owner of Blake Industries. Jason made bail, but his legal troubles were just beginning. Maria turned on him almost immediately, making a deal with the prosecutors. She'd testify against Jason in exchange for a reduced sentence. I should have felt satisfied. Jason was going to prison. I had the company, but all I felt was empty. Emily was still gone. The trial was set for 6 months later. Jason's lawyer tried every trick to delay, to get evidence thrown out, to make deals. But the case against him was too strong. Patricia's work and Emily's documentation had left no room for doubt. I threw myself into running Blake Industries. Rita became my right hand, teaching me everything Emily had known. I wasn't Emily. I'd never be the brilliant businesswoman she'd been, but I could keep her company alive. We secured a major new contract with a hospital network in Chicago. Rita had been building the relationship for months, but Emily's passing had almost derailed the deal. I flew to Chicago, met with their executives, and somehow convinced them we were stable. "Your daughter spoke highly of this company," their CFO said. We're trusting you to maintain her standards. I will. The company started growing again. Slowly but steadily. Employees who'd been nervous about the future began to relax. We hired 2 new people. Rita got a raise she'd deserved for years. Helen visited the office once and looked around with pride. Emily would be happy. You think so? I know so. You're protecting what she built. Jason's trial started on a cold morning in February. I sat in the courtroom every day, watching as the prosecution laid out the evidence. Patricia testified. Maria testified, describing in detail how Jason had manipulated the books. Employees testified about suspicious transactions they'd noticed but been afraid to report. Jason's defense was weak. His lawyer tried to claim that Emily had known about the money transfers, that she'd approved them, but Emily's emails proved that was a lie. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, Jason's face was gray. On the count of embezzlement, we find the defendant guilty. Jason closed his eyes. On the count of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. On the count of theft, we find the defendant guilty. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later. Jason would face up to 15 years in prison. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. After the verdict, I walked out of the courthouse into cold sunshine. Andy caught up with me on the steps. It's over, he said. Yeah. Paul, you did it. You got justice for Emily. Did I? She's still gone. The company's okay, but she's still gone. Andy didn't have an answer for that. Nobody did. Jason's sentencing was on a Wednesday. The courtroom was half empty. Most people had moved on to other news, other scandals. The judge gave him 8 years. With good behavior, he'd be out in 5. Mr. Jason, the judge said, you betrayed your wife's trust. You stole from a company she built. You've shown no remorse. 8 years in state prison. Jason stood there, blank-faced. They led him away in handcuffs. He didn't look at me. I thought I'd feel something. Relief, satisfaction, closure. But I felt nothing. Maria got 2 years. She'd be out in 18 months, probably less. She cried during her sentencing, begging for mercy. The judge didn't care. In March, a year after Emily's passing, I stood in the Blake Industries office, staring at her picture on the wall. Rita had framed it and hung it in the lobby. Emily, smiling, confident, beautiful. I did what I could, I said to the picture. I hope it was enough. The company was stable now, more than stable, thriving. We'd landed 3 major contracts, hired 6 new employees. Rita was talking about expanding into new markets. Emily's vision, living on. I'd moved out of the terrible apartment into a small house, nothing fancy, but it had a yard and a garage for my tools. Helen came over for dinner every Sunday. You're doing better, she said one evening. Am I? You are. You're not just surviving anymore. You're living. Maybe she was right. The anger that had consumed me after Emily's passing had softened. I still missed her every day, but the grief wasn't as intense. I went to her grave every week, brought fresh flowers, talked to her about the company, told her about the contracts we'd won, the employees we'd hired, told her that her father, the plumber, was somehow running a multi-million-dollar business. I'm not you, I said to the headstone, but I'm trying. The wind rustled through the trees. I sat there for a long time, listening to the silence. Jason would be in prison for years. Maria would serve her time. Blake Industries would continue. But Emily was still gone, and nothing I'd done could change that. That was the truth I had to live with. I stood up, brushed dirt off my knees, and walked back to my truck. There was work to do, always work to do. Emily would have wanted me to keep going. So I would. The shareholder meeting was scheduled for April, just me and Jason's lawyer, since Jason was in prison. According to the company bylaws, we needed to formally address Jason's ownership stake now that he'd been convicted of embezzling company funds. Andy had prepared everything. The conviction gives us grounds to force him to sell his shares back to the company, 38%. You can buy them out over time, or the company can hold them. Either way, Jason loses everything. How much would it cost? About $1.6 million, based on current valuation. The company can afford it. You'd own 100%. I thought about it. Total control. Everything Emily had built, fully mine to protect. Do it. The meeting was brief. Jason's lawyer argued half-heartedly that his client's shares shouldn't be seized, but the corporate bylaws were clear. Convicted felons couldn't maintain ownership. The judge approved the buyback. Blake Industries purchased Jason's shares for $1.4 million, slightly less than market value. The money would go toward his restitution payments and legal fees. Jason would leave prison with nothing. I ran into Maria by accident in June. She was out on bail pending her prison start date. She looked different, older, tired. No expensive dress this time, just jeans and a t-shirt. She saw me and froze outside the grocery store. "Mr. Blake." "Maria." We stood there awkwardly. I had nothing to say to her. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "About Emily. About all of it." "Are you?" "I am. I know you don't believe me, but I am. Emily didn't deserve what happened." "No, she didn't. For what it's worth, Jason loved her, in his way. He just loved money more." I walked past her into the store. I didn't look back. Blake Industries celebrated its 8th anniversary in July. Emily had founded it right after college, working out of her apartment at first. Now it employed 23 people and had clients across the country. We threw a party at the office. Rita made a speech about Emily's vision and leadership. Employees shared stories about working with her. I stood in the back, listening, remembering. "She changed my life," one young engineer said. "She took a chance on me when nobody else would. I'll never forget that." Others nodded. Emily had done that for a lot of people. When it was my turn to speak, I kept it short. "My daughter built something remarkable here. Not just a company, but a community. She cared about all of you. She believed in what you could accomplish together. I'm honored to carry on her legacy." They applauded. I saw tears in Rita's eyes. After the party, I sat in Emily's old office. I'd kept it exactly as she'd left it. Her desk, her chair, her books on the shelf. Sometimes I worked in here, trying to feel close to her. There was a knock on the door. Rita poked her head in. "You okay, boss?" "Yeah, just thinking." "About Emily?" "Always about Emily." Rita came in and sat across from me. "Can I tell you something?" "Sure." "Emily talked about you all the time, how proud she was of you, how you'd worked your whole life to give her opportunities. She wanted you to know that everything she accomplished was because you believed in her first." My throat tightened. "She said that?" "All the time. She said you were her hero." I couldn't speak. Rita squeezed my hand and left quietly. I sat there in Emily's office as the sun set outside, crying for my daughter who'd thought I was a hero. I'd spent my whole life feeling like I wasn't enough, that I couldn't give her the life she deserved. But she'd never felt that way. She'd just wanted me to be proud of her. "I am proud," I said to the empty room. I always was. The business convention was in September, downtown at the Marriott. Blake Industries had a booth, showing off our latest products. Rita worked the crowd like a pro while I stood back and observed. That's when I saw Jason's parents. Frank and Diane had been at Emily's funeral, stone-faced and silent. They'd left immediately after, without speaking to me. Now they were walking through the convention center and Diane spotted me. She walked over. Frank followed reluctantly. Paul. Diane. We hadn't spoken since before the trial. She looked older, worn down by her son's crimes. "I wanted to say something," she began. "About Jason. About what he did. You don't owe me anything." "I do. He's my son. But what he did was wrong. Emily didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve that. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Frank put his arm around her. He nodded at me, his eyes red. We loved Emily too, he said. She was the best thing that ever happened to our family. And Jason destroyed it. He made his choices. He did, and now he's paying for them. Diane wiped her eyes. We heard you saved the company, that you're doing well. Emily saved the company, I'm just keeping it going. She'd be proud of you. They walked away, two broken parents mourning the son they'd raised and lost. I felt sorry for them. They hadn't asked for any of this. October came with cold winds and falling leaves. I was working late at the office when Andy called. Paul, Jason's appealing his sentence. On what grounds? His lawyer is claiming the judge was biased, that the evidence was circumstantial. The usual desperate moves. It won't work, but it'll drag things out. How long? Another 6 months, maybe a year. He'll lose the appeal, but he's trying anything to reduce his time. I hung up and stared at my computer screen. Even from prison, Jason was still fighting. But he'd already lost everything that mattered. His freedom, his reputation, his company. The appeal wouldn't change that. Blake Industries won a major award in November. Best small business in the state. Rita accepted it at a ceremony, but she dedicated it to Emily. This company exists because of Emily Blake's vision and determination, she said into the microphone. She built something that will outlast all of us. This award belongs to her. The audience applauded. I stood in the back of the room, clapping for my daughter. December marked 20 months since Emily's passing. The grief wasn't as overwhelming, but it still hit me at unexpected moments. A song on the radio, someone's laugh, the way sunlight filtered through the office windows. I visited her grave on Christmas Eve, like I did every major holiday. Business is good, I told her. Really good. We're hiring again in January. Rita thinks we might hit 10 million in revenue next year. The headstone was cold under my hand. I miss you every day, sweetheart. Every single day. But I'm keeping my promise. I'm protecting what you built. The cemetery was quiet, except for wind in the bare trees. I hope wherever you are, you know I did my best. I wasn't perfect, but I tried. I stayed until it got dark, then drove home to have dinner with Helen. The appeal was denied in February, 2 years after Emily's passing. Jason would serve his full sentence with no reduction. Andy called to tell me. It's really over now. No more legal battles. Good. How are you doing, Paul? Really? I'm okay. Better than I was. Emily would be proud. Everyone kept saying that. I wanted to believe it. March brought new contracts and new challenges. A competitor tried to poach 2 of our engineers with big salary offers. I matched the offers and threw in better benefits. Both engineers stayed. You're getting good at this, Rita said. I'm learning from the best. Emily left good notes. She left more than notes. She left a blueprint for how to run a company with integrity. That was Emily. Integrity above everything. The 2-year anniversary of her passing was tough. I took the day off, spent it at her grave, crying, talking, and remembering. 2 years, I said. Feels like yesterday and forever ago at the same time. I thought about everything that had happened. The shock of her passing, Jason throwing me out, living in my truck, discovering her will, the investigation, the trial, and taking over the company. It felt like a lifetime compressed into 2 years. I got him, Em. Jason's in prison. Maria, too. The company's safe. Everything you built is safe. The wind picked up, scattering leaves across the grass. I wish you were here to see it. I wish I could tell you about the contracts we landed, the people we hired. You'd be so proud of Rita. She's incredible. I stayed until sunset, then drove back to my house. Helen was waiting with dinner. She'd known I'd need company today. You're going to be okay, she said. I know. And I was. Not healed. I'd never be fully healed from losing Emily. But functional. Moving forward. Living. Emily would have wanted that. The industry conference in May was Blake Industries' biggest opportunity yet. Major hospital networks and medical device manufacturers from across the country would be there. Rita had been preparing for months. This is our chance to break into the national market, she said. Emily always wanted to expand beyond the regional clients. We flew to Atlanta with a team of 4. The convention center was massive, filled with booths and displays. Our setup was modest but professional. Emily's company logo shining above us. That's when I saw Jason. He shouldn't have been there. He was supposed to be in prison. But there he was, 50 feet away, standing at another company's booth wearing a visitor badge. A chill ran through me. I walked over. He saw me coming and smiled. That same arrogant smile. Hello, Paul. What are you doing here? I was released early. Good behavior. Turns out 8 years becomes 4 with the right lawyer. 4 years. He'd served 4 years and was already out. You can't be here, I said. It's a public convention. I can be wherever I want. He gestured around. Impressive turnout. Blake Industries doing well? Better than ever. Emily would be proud. Hearing her name from his mouth made me want to hit him again. But I controlled myself. Barely. Stay away from my company. Your company? That's funny. I helped build Blake Industries. You stole from it. I made it profitable. Emily was brilliant, sure, but I closed the deals. I brought in the clients. You're delusional. Jason's smile widened. Am I? Ask yourself, Paul. What happens when your major clients find out Blake Industries is run by a 60-year-old plumber? When they realize Emily's gone and there's no business genius behind the curtain anymore? We're doing fine. For now. But how long before you make a mistake? How long before Rita gets tired of babysitting you? How long before the whole thing collapses? I stepped closer. I'm going to say this once. Stay away from my employees. Stay away from my clients. Stay away from my company. If I find out you've contacted anyone at Blake Industries, I'll have you arrested for violating your parole. Parole conditions say I can't commit crimes. They don't say I can't do business. He pulled out a card. I'm consulting now, helping companies optimize their operations. If any of your clients need real expertise, they know where to find me. Security appeared before I could respond. Rita had called them. Sir, we need you to leave, they told Jason. He held up his hands. I'm going. Just catching up with an old friend. He walked away, but turned back once. Good luck, Paul. You're going to need it. I stood there, shaking with rage. Are you okay? Rita asked. No, that jerk is going to try something. He can't. He has no connection to the company anymore. That won't stop him. I was right. 2 weeks after the convention, one of our biggest clients called. Paul, we need to talk about our contract, their VP said. My stomach sank. What about it? We've been approached by a consultant who claims Blake Industries is having financial troubles. He's suggesting we consider alternative suppliers. Who approached you? Silence. Then, a man named Jason. He said he used to run your company. He was convicted of embezzling from my company. He served 4 years in prison. Whatever he told you is a lie. I see. We'll take that under consideration. They canceled the contract 2 days later. Not because they believed Jason, they claimed. Because they couldn't afford the uncertainty. 3 more clients called with similar stories. Jason was systematically contacting everyone, spreading doubts about Blake Industries' stability. Can we sue him? I asked Andy. Possibly, but we'd have to prove he's deliberately lying and causing measurable harm. That's tricky. He's being careful with his words, making suggestions rather than direct claims. So he can destroy my company, and there's nothing I can do? I didn't say that. I said it's tricky. Rita called an emergency staff meeting. Everyone needs to reach out to their contacts, reassure clients, provide financial statements showing we're stable. We fight this with transparency. We did. Every employee contacted their clients. We provided documentation, references, proof of our financial health. Some clients stayed, others didn't. By the end of June, we'd lost 30% of our business. We're bleeding out, Rita said. If this continues, we'll have to make cuts. No cuts, we fight. Paul, I admire your determination, but we need to be realistic. Emily didn't give up. Neither will I. I worked 18-hour days, calling clients myself. Some were surprised to hear from the owner directly. I was honest with them. My daughter built this company. She was brilliant and she died too young. I'm not her. I'm a plumber who's learning business. But I hired good people and we deliver quality products. That hasn't changed. Some appreciated the honesty, some didn't. July was brutal. We lost another 2 clients. I had to dip into the company's reserves to make payroll. Helen tried to talk sense into me. Maybe it's time to sell, get what you can, and move on. No. Paul, you're destroying yourself. This is all I have left of her. Emily's gone. The company can't bring her back. I know, but it's what she built. It's her legacy. I'm not giving up. Helen sighed. You're the most stubborn man I've ever met. Must run in the family. August brought a surprising turn. One of our former clients called. Paul, this is Richard from Midwest Medical. We were one of the companies that canceled our contract. I remember. I wanted to apologize. We made a mistake. We looked into Jason's background after ending our contract. Found out about his conviction, his fraud. We should have asked you first. Thank you for saying that. More than that. We want to reinstate our contract. Bigger than before. We've been using another supplier for 2 months and they're terrible. Whatever Blake Industries challenges, you still produce the best components in the industry. I nearly dropped the phone. Are you serious? I'm serious. Emily built something special. We shouldn't have doubted that. They weren't the only ones. 3 other clients called in September wanting to restart their contracts. Word had spread about Jason's criminal history, and clients were realizing they'd been manipulated. By October, we'd recovered 50% of lost business. Not everything, but enough to stabilize. We're going to make it, Rita said, looking at the numbers. We are. You did it, Paul. You saved the company. We all did. Jason tried one more move in November. He filed a lawsuit claiming he was owed back pay for his time as CEO. The judge threw it out immediately. Mr. Jason, you were convicted of embezzling from this company, the judge said. You're lucky you're not facing additional charges. This lawsuit is frivolous. Dismissed. Jason stared at me from across the courtroom. All the arrogance was gone. He just looked tired. After the hearing, he approached me in the hallway. You win, Paul. There was never a competition. Wasn't there? You always hated me. Always thought I wasn't good enough for Emily. I was right. Maybe, but I loved her. You never believed that, but I did. You had a funny way of showing it, stealing from her, cheating on her. Jason looked at his feet. I made mistakes. Mistakes? You destroyed everything she built. No, you saved it, and I hate you for that. He looked up, and his eyes were full of anger. I hate that you're the hero of this story, the plumber who rescued his daughter's company. It should have been mine. It was never yours. It was always Emily's. I know. That's what destroys me. He walked away. I never saw him again. December was quiet. The company was stable, growing slowly. We hired back some positions we'd cut. Rita was talking about expansion again. I spent Christmas at Helen's house, surrounded by family, her kids, now grown with families of their own. They asked about the company, about Emily. Tell us about Aunt Emily, Helen's granddaughter said. She was 8, with Emily's eyes. So I told her. about how Emily had built a company from nothing, how she'd been brilliant and kind, how she'd helped people and created jobs, how she'd never given up on her dreams. "She sounds amazing," the little girl said. She was. That night, lying in Helen's guest room, I reflected on the past 3 years, Emily's passing, the fight with Jason, the trial, taking over the company, and Jason's release and final attempt at revenge. It had been hell, all of it. But Blake Industries survived. Emily's legacy survived. And maybe that was enough. The new year started with unexpected news. A major medical device manufacturer wanted to partner with Blake Industries. They'd been impressed by our reputation for quality and our resilience during the Jason situation. "This could triple our revenue," Rita said, showing me the proposal. "What's the catch?" "No catch. They need reliable component suppliers, and we fit the bill. Emily actually pitched to them 5 years ago, but the timing wasn't right." "Emily pitched to them?" "Yeah. I found her notes. She'd been playing the long game, building relationships even when there was no immediate payoff. That was Emily, always thinking ahead. The partnership went through in February. We hired 10 new employees, moved into a bigger facility. Blake Industries was becoming what Emily had always envisioned, a national leader in medical device components. I promoted Rita to COO. She'd earned it 100 times over. "Emily chose well when she hired you," I told her. "Emily chose well when she had you for a father," Rita replied. March brought another surprise. Andy called with news about Jason. He violated his parole, got caught trying to access Blake Industries' computer systems remotely. "He what?" "Tried to hack into your network. An IT security firm caught him. He's going back to prison." "For how long?" "The remainder of his original sentence plus additional time for the parole violation. He'll be 60 years old before he gets out again." I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. Jason had thrown away everything, his freedom, his reputation, his future, because he couldn't let go. "What a waste," I said. "Some people never learn," Andy replied. I didn't go to Jason's hearing. I had no interest in watching him be sentenced again. He'd made his choices. Blake Industries celebrated its 10th anniversary in April. We threw a huge party, inviting clients, employees, and industry partners. Over 100 people showed up. The mayor came and gave a speech about local business success. Rita talked about Emily's vision. Several employees shared stories. When it was my turn, I stood in front of everyone and felt overwhelmed. 10 years ago, my daughter founded this company in her apartment. She had an idea, determination, and a belief that she could build something meaningful. People nodded. She did. She built something that employs over 30 people now, something that provides critical components to hospitals across the country, something that will outlast all of us. I paused, gathering myself. Emily died 3 years ago. I thought that would be the end of Blake Industries. But it wasn't, because she built it on solid foundations, good people, quality products, honest business practices. I looked at Rita, at the employees, at the clients who'd stuck with us. This isn't my company. It never was. It's Emily's company. I'm just taking care of it for her. And as long as I'm alive, I'll make sure it honors her memory. The applause was deafening. After the party, I drove to Emily's grave with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. 10 years, Em. Your company made it 10 years, and it's going to make it 100 more. I poured champagne into both glasses, raised one. To you, sweetheart. Everything I did for you. The evening wind scattered blossoms across the cemetery. I sat there drinking champagne, talking to my daughter, watching the sun set. I hope you're proud of me. I hope I did right by you. The grass whispered in the breeze. I miss you every day, but I'm okay now. The company's okay. Everything you built is safe. I finished my glass and poured the second one onto her grave. Rest well, Emily. I've got it from here. May brought the industry awards ceremony. Blake Industries was nominated for Innovation of the Year. We didn't win, but being nominated was honor enough. Emily would have loved this, Rita said. She would have won, I replied. Probably. We laughed. It felt good to laugh about Emily, to remember her without it hurting quite so much. The summer was busy. New contracts, new hires, new challenges. I was learning to delegate more, trust the team Emily had built, and I'd expanded. You're becoming a real CEO, Helen teased. I'm becoming something. Not sure what. You're becoming the person Emily always knew you could be. Maybe she was right. August marked 3 years since Emily's passing. The pain was still there, but duller now, more of a constant ache than a sharp wound. I visited her grave, like always. 3 years? Can you believe it? Feels like a lifetime. I told her about the company's success, about Rita's promotion, about the new facility, about how we were planning international expansion. We're doing it, Em. We're really doing it. The anniversary passed quietly. No drama, no crisis. Just another day missing my daughter. September brought news that Jason had been denied parole again. He'd serve every day of his sentence. I didn't tell anyone at the company. It didn't matter anymore. Jason was the past. Blake Industries was the future. October was unremarkable, business as usual, which after 3 years of chaos felt wonderful. Rita and I met monthly now to review strategy. She'd learned to translate her business expertise into language I could understand. You're better at this than you think, she said during one meeting. I'm better at this than I was. Emily would still be better. Maybe, but you bring something Emily didn't have. What's that? Perspective. You've lived a whole life. You understand people. You care about the employees in a way that Emily, for all her brilliance, sometimes didn't. I'd never thought about it that way. Emily was focused on growth and success, Rita continued. You're focused on sustainability and community. Both are valuable. You're being generous. I'm being honest. November brought the opportunity I'd been waiting for. A chance to acquire a smaller competitor that was struggling financially. It would expand our capabilities significantly. The board, me, Rita, Andy, and 2 outside advisors, debated for weeks. It's risky, Andy said, taking on their debt, integrating their systems. It's what Emily would have done, Rita countered. She always believed in strategic growth. What do you think, Paul? One advisor asked. I looked at Emily's picture on the conference room wall. What would she do? We do it, but carefully. We make sure we can honor their employee contracts. We integrate slowly. We don't take unnecessary risks. The acquisition closed in January. 20 new employees, new equipment, new possibilities. Blake Industries was now a 50-person company with national reach. You did it, Helen said. You actually did it. Did what? Saved Emily's company, grew it, made it something even bigger than she'd imagined. I wasn't sure about that. But we'd survived. We'd thrived. That was enough. February brought my 62nd birthday. The company threw me a party. I tried to protest, but Rita insisted. You've earned it, she said. Had I? I'd just been doing what needed to be done. But looking around at the employees, at the thriving business, at everything we'd built and preserved, maybe I had earned it. Thank you, I told everyone. All of you. You're the reason Blake Industries exists. You're the reason Emily's dream stayed alive. They clapped. Some eyes were wet. Mine were too. March came with spring flowers and new contracts. The international expansion was moving forward. We'd partner with European distributors, bringing Blake Industries to a global market. Emily dreamed of this, Rita said, looking at the contracts. Then let's make her dream real. We did. By April, we had distributors in Germany, France, and the UK. By May, we were shipping components worldwide. Blake Industries had become what Emily had always planned, a global leader. I thought about calling Jason to tell him, to rub his face in our success. But that would mean he still mattered. He didn't. Summer brought the biggest challenge yet. A hostile takeover attempt from a massive corporation that wanted to absorb Blake Industries into their portfolio. They're offering $30 million, the investment banker said. $30 million. Life-changing money. No, I said immediately. Paul, you should at least consider. No, this company isn't for sale. Rita backed me up. Blake Industries stays independent. That's non-negotiable. The corporation increased their offer. $40 million. Then $50. You're turning down $50 million? Helen said, incredulous. I am. Why? Because Emily built this to last. To be something meaningful. Not just another acquisition for some faceless corporation. You're insane. Probably. The corporation finally gave up in August. We'd won another battle. You know, Rita said, at some point you're going to have to think about succession planning. You're not going to run this company forever. I know. So what's the plan? I looked at her. You're the plan, Rita. When I retire, you'll take over as CEO. She looked stunned. Paul, You're already running most of the operations. You know this company inside and out. You knew Emily. You understand her vision. There's nobody better. Thank you, she said quietly. I won't let you down. I won't let Emily down. I know. September marked 4 years since Emily's passing. 4 years of fighting, building, and preserving. I went to her grave with good news. We're global now, Em. Your company ships products to 15 countries, 53 employees, 70 million in annual revenue. You'd be so proud. The cemetery was peaceful. Birds sang in the trees. Jason's still in prison. He'll be there for years. Maria got out last year, moved to Florida. I don't care where she is. I touched the headstone. I'm going to retire soon. Pass the company to Rita. She'll take care of it. Your legacy is safe. The wind rustled through falling leaves. I did it, sweetheart. I protected what you built, and I'm so tired. 4 years of fighting had aged me. I was 62, but felt 80. Time to rest. Time to let someone else carry it forward. I announced my retirement in October. The company was shocked. You're leaving? One employee asked. I'm not leaving. I'm just stepping back. Rita will be the new CEO. I'll stay on the board, advise when needed, but it's time for new leadership. The transition happened over 3 months. Rita took over day-to-day operations. I moved into an advisor role. It felt right. Thank you for everything, Rita said at the transition ceremony. Thank you for saving this company when I couldn't, I replied. We saved it together. Maybe we had. I spent my first week of retirement doing nothing, sleeping in, reading books, working in my garden. It was glorious. Helen came over for dinner. How does it feel? Strange. Good. I keep wanting to check my email. Don't. You earned this rest. Did I? Paul, you spent 4 years fighting for Emily's company. You won. Now enjoy your victory. I was trying. Blake Industries thrived under Rita's leadership. She implemented changes I'd been too cautious to make. Modernized systems, expanded product lines, hired new talent. By spring, revenue was up 20%. You're making me look bad, I joked at a board meeting. I learned from the best, Rita replied. You learned from Emily. I learned from both of you. June brought a letter from Jason. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. Paul, I'm writing this from prison. My 3rd year here. 4 more to go. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know something. Emily loved you. She talked about you all the time, how proud she was of you, how you'd worked your whole life to give her opportunities. I was jealous of that, of your relationship. She never looked at me the way she looked at you. I destroyed everything because I wanted to be important. I wanted to matter. I wanted people to respect me the way they respected Emily. Instead, I lost everything that actually mattered. You won. You saved her company. You protected her legacy. You were the father she deserved. I wish I'd been the husband she deserved. Jason. I read the letter 3 times. Then I burned it. Some things didn't need forgiveness. Some things just needed to be over.